Dr. Barry Evans. I'm a member of First Baptist Church Cherokee, and Pastor Brian asked me to do a series of Sunday evening studies starting in the middle of September that I'm calling a logical defense of the Christian faith. So what I'm going to do in this video is let you know a little bit about who I am and the perspective I bring to this subject, who is the intended audience of this series of studies, and then briefly what we'll cover in these studies as well. So again, I'm Barry Evans, grew up in Oklahoma City. I have a Bachelor's of Science degree in geology from Oklahoma State University. The study of geology is heavily based on evolution, so that'll become relevant here in a moment. There were no jobs in geology when I graduated, so I went to OU, lived at home and drove to OU and got a master's in business administration. Became a commissioned officer in the Air Force. I was a healthcare administrator for 13 years before I separated, going to full-time ministry and started a free Christian school. While in Okinawa, Japan, I was teaching a class on Kadena Air Base on process improvement, and there's a lawyer in the back of the class during a break, and I heard him telling the lady next to him, he said, the last place I was stationed, it'd be like if you had a real bad headache, they'd say, ooh, let me pray for you. And she laughed, and I just real quick asked God for the opportunity to share my faith with this guy, and God answered that prayer. He actually invited me to lunch, and we went out to lunch. He had two basic questions that he said kept him from being willing to explore Christianity further. The first was he didn't understand how a man dying 2,000 years ago had anything to do today with him going to heaven. So I felt like I covered that okay. His second concern was what he called the evil God hypothesis, which is evil people exist on earth. God created all that is, therefore God created evil, therefore God is evil, or at least partially evil. As a Christian apologist, where the word apologist means a ready defense of the Christian faith, has nothing to do with apologizing for anything as the word might imply. And he was actually very kind and said, oh, no, you're doing a great job. You're the first Christian I've ever had this conversation with that didn't lose their temper and start yelling at this point. And I kind of filed that away. It's like, as Christians, we shouldn't get angry when unbelievers question what we believe. And I felt like, me especially, I needed to understand and be able to teach what I understood in a logical way. So separated from the Air Force after 13 years, started a free Christian school in San Antonio, taught logic to ninth graders, and so I got involved with the study of formal logic. So with a background in geology, when I first got saved again in Okinawa, I believed the Bible, and I still do, believe the Bible, the book of Genesis, is exactly how it says it happened, that God created the heavens and the earth in 6 literal days and rested on the 7th. But I also had been taught evolution as the basis for everything that is. And my problem was I would hear famous pastors talking about evolution, and they showed they didn't understand it. They would say things like, well, evolution teaches that man evolved from monkeys. And I'd say, that's not what evolution teaches. It teaches that man and apes evolved from a common ancestor. But that threw me, because if they didn't know what they were talking about with that, what else did they not know what they were talking about? So a friend named Woody in Okinawa guided me to an author named A. Wilder Smith, who wrote a series of scientific books showing the truth of the biblical creation model. So I got started on that, did a series of studies on, just like we're going to do starting in September. The audience for this study is high school. You don't have to have a basis in science or anything like that. I'll explain all the terms that we'll use. High school students, especially college students, because I found that many college students that grew up in a Christian home and believe in the Bible, and let's say they're going to major in biology because they want to be a doctor, they're going to be taught from the first day that their faith is untrue, there is no God, evolution explains all that exists in the universe and the Big Bang Theory. That's actually not true, but we'll talk about all of that as well. And their faith would be derailed. So I want that to not happen. If I can have any impact on helping young people understand and be able to defend their faith, and maybe even lead some of their friends to at least explore Christ further, if not come to a saving knowledge. Or it's for adults. If you've got friends or you even have your own questions on, yeah, but what about dinosaurs? What about the speed of light? What about carbon dating? We'll talk about as much of that kind of stuff as you guys want to, because I've done some reading on all of it. The things that we're going to cover is why Jesus dying on a cross matters, and how you can logically show that it does indeed make sense, and it's a logical progression. We'll talk about how creation offers the more scientific basis for the nature of life than does a creation model. We'll reject the evil God hypothesis, and we'll talk about why bad things happen to innocent people. It's sad, but it's true. We'll look at different religions' view of God, because some people hold that all views of God are of equal value and of equal truth. Yeah, that's not true, and we'll talk about that. And also, a lot of people, especially in science, the main thing I wanted to point out is, in science, many scientists, not all obviously, many scientists believe that anyone who believes in the Bible and a biblical account of creation is either superstitious or too stupid to know better and to understand science. That's not true, but we'll talk about those. Years ago in my PhD program, I read a book by a guy named Immanuel Kant. The book was called Critique of Pure Reason. In reading that book, I came to the personal conclusion that this is one of the most brilliant minds of the Western world, and he is dead wrong on certain issues. And what that caused me is to not believe that just because someone is smart in one area, that they are smart in all areas. Because there's a lot of brilliant people, even Nobel Prize winners, that are atheists. They're smart in one area, but not smart. So my goal is to teach everyone so you also can share, to have a logical defense of your Christian faith. And we'll be doing it on Sunday evenings, starting in the middle of September 2024, and I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.